Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Abani Samal, and we're going to talk about international guidelines for public reporting of exploration results, resource and reserve, and the role of a competent person. I thank South African IMM for hosting this webinar, I also thank all the attendees. I believe we are close to 20 of us gathering today, this afternoon, for discussing this topic. A brief introduction of mine, but before we do that, I believe the host has made everyone a panelist. Whichever way, if you have a question, please wait until the presentation is finished. We have 1 hour time. I'll try to keep this presentation within, so we'll have sufficient time for Q&A towards the end. Hold your questions there and ask your questions towards the end of, after I make my presentation. And, that will be the way we will go. And I really appreciate if you can raise your hands and introduce yourself before you ask your question. Again, thank you, the South African IMM staff being here hosting this session. This is my introduction. I did my degrees. If you can see, I'm a geologist by training. My bachelor's and 2 master programs are done in India. I'm originally coming from India. I went to Imperial College for another master's program in mineral exploration. And in between, before I did that, actually, I started working. I worked about 5 years before I went to Imperial College. I worked as a mine geologist in a chromite mine. If all of you or most of you are from South Africa, you understand chromite, because that chromite is not occurring everywhere in the world. And then I came to United States for doing my PhD in year 2002. My PhD was from SIU Carbondale with focus on energy and mineral resources. My thesis was on resource estimation, exploration planning and resource estimation, applying statistics, geostatistics and GIS from SIU Carbondale in Illinois. I'm in industry since 1996, done close to 120 projects so far, and that's a guesstimate. I have probably authored or co-authored close to 9,500 reports. Those are substantial reports, not really memos and stuff. So in last 20-25 years. I've been to at least, I would say, 12 to 15 countries doing the projects. However, my projects are spread all over the world. Close to 30 countries are where actually my projects are based. And commodity-wise, I have experience in all the metals, diamonds, potash, borate, etc. And also the radioactive commodities like uranium and iron, titanium, etc. I'm not a competent person for coal. I'm not a coal person. My last employment, a full-time employment, was with Rio Tinto, with their United States headquarters that used to be in Salt Lake City. That's why actually I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah, United States. I understand it's afternoon over there. It's actually for me 7:40 time in the morning. Relevant to our topic today, I'm a competent person, or you can say qualified person in different parts of the world. I act like that for reporting mineral resources or exploration results. Most recently, if you actually look me up on the web, you will see that an I-43-101 report was released last year for a gold property here in Nevada that was an acquisition project. So, and there, in Africa, we recently, this is not a public report, but there was JORC compliant report or JORC style report was produced. I do not know if they published it in public domain or available for public. There was a JORC report done on iron ore properties. There are 5 properties on which this JORC report was based on. These iron ore properties are in Nigeria. This is on behalf of World Bank / Government of Nigeria. We're continuing to work there. I maintain 2 memberships as certified professional geologist with American Institute of Professional Geology, professional geologist AIPG. I'm also a registered member of SME. That is Society for Mining, Metallurgy and Exploration here in the, we headquarter in the United States. However, SME is an international body. I'm a member of various societies. Most recently, I joined South African IMM. I'm a registered member of SME, as a fellow of SEG, Geological Society of America, and many others. I also serve as in the editorial board of 2 scientific journals and a couple of industry magazines. Just briefly who I am. We'll start the discussion what we mean by reporting. By reporting for this webinar, reporting really means public reporting of resource and reserve, exploration results, resource and reserve. That really means that an operator or an investor, they are reporting through a system so that investors, it can be major investors or anyone having interest, they can have access to it. I do not know what is actually the South African system where we can find a public report, but if you are aware, in the JORC system, you can find a public report. In Canadian system, you can find a public report. You can also find in American system, there is a reporting system where you can go to web and look for the public reporting, the reports whoever has filed through that system and when they list in the stock exchange. So public reports are the reports prepared for the purpose of informing the investors or potential investors. That can be potential investors is just common people like you and me. And there are advisors, that means the consultants that can include myself or many other people who are advising these investors on the exploration results, resource and reserve. They include but not limited to annual and quarterly company reports, press releases, and information memoranda, technical papers, website posting, anything related to exploration results, resource and reserve, if it is published in public domain for the purpose of raising funds through the stock exchange. That's what it's called public reporting. Let me see. For an example, this slide is I borrowed from late Dr. Harry Parker. Just a comparison. This is a few years old. As you can see, in terms of amount of money that is invested in the mineral industry, New York Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange, they're kind of leaders. However, Toronto Stock Exchange, that is the TSX, and Australian Stock Exchange, they are the leads in terms of new listings and financing. That means number of small companies listing there, the new company. And when they become major companies, sometimes they come to New York Stock Exchange or London Stock Exchange, depending on what kind of commodities, what kind of projects they have, and they do that. So Hong Kong started playing a role, I believe, in around 2010. In Asia, there are a bunch of companies. They also they're listed in Hong Kong Stock Exchange. That table, that, as I said, this is a few years old table. You can see how many companies are, a number of mining issuers. The first line, you see the Canadians. You know, the Toronto Stock Exchange. They're the biggest one. Market cap wise, you can see the UK and Canada, Australia, they're very big. South Africa is substantially big, actually, in terms of market cap. And there are many other information available there. You can see the New York Stock Exchange is the bulk of material. I mean, bulk of bulk of investment happening at the New York Stock Exchange. All the majors, they list in New York Stock Exchange. So when a company is listing there, or the project is listing there, as per the rule of the stock exchanges, we go and do the public reporting. Here is a snapshot of the companies where they're based out of, but they are listed in Toronto Stock Exchange. You can see they come from all over the world. Now, if you're from South African participants, you probably know this South African IMM. We have a reporting code in South Africa, and South African IMM plays a big role in there. I won't go into details about that particular reporting, just to familiarize yourself. And in the United States, there is a reporting standard. In Canada, there is a reporting standard. In Australia, there is a reporting standard. However, even though these are all different reporting standards, there is a need for standardized reporting codes through standardizing the terminology and definitions and those kind of things. The reason for doing that is, as we know, the mining is mining based on the depleting assets. That means once a mineral is mined, then we do not have we can't really go back and find it again. So this is depleting asset, and projects are based on imperfect knowledge. That means our exploration results are not perfect. That means we do not ever have the complete information that we want before we go into mining. That's the nature of mining industry. Developing mining projects requires technical expertise, substantial long-term capital investments, and it carries a numerous risks. I think the last bullet point is important, why we need to have, and we actually standardize reporting codes. Just hold on for a minute. I think we need to also understand what are the two different types of reporting codes, even two different groups, kind of. Other than South Africa, there is no other country in Africa who have a standard reporting code authorized by their stock exchanges in the country. So many of those countries, they probably use a code, something similar to UNFC code, that is United Nations Framework for Classification, that is developed by UNECE. That's a major system. But remember, that's a classification system. On the other hand, the CRIRSCO system, where the South African IMM is a member, US is a member, there are 14 member countries. I have a slide that shows all the member countries as of today. They all have their own reporting codes, and they all use standardized terminology. UNECE is strictly three-dimensional kind of classification system. That is a resource and reserve classification system. but the reporting codes that they're coming from the CRIRSCO family. They are public reporting standard. They're meant for reporting the exploration results, resource and reserves in the public domain for raising capitals. Here the last point actually, where you have the list of all 14 countries and they're members of CRIRSCO. They all have their own reporting code. In the UNFC side, it's mainly used by the countries where the mineral deposits are developed primarily through government funding with little or no participation of private funding, with an exception to India and China. India is a member of CRIRSCO, but government has not adopted it yet. It takes some time, and every country is unique. China, they have a reporting code, I believe is similar to UNFC, certain version, I have no idea, I'm not 100% sure, but they're gigantic to mineral producing countries. They are not members of CRIRSCO. On the right hand side of this slide, you see all the names of the list of the countries they're member of CRIRSCO, and one of the I have actually identified all the countries. I believe South Africa, including South Africa, Canada, Australia, and United States. They are founding kind of members of CRIRSCO. So that's what they started. UNFC system, like I said, it is a resource classification system. It's a three-dimensional system. It's not standard for public reporting for resource and reserve. It's not suitable for raising funds in the stock exchanges. Stock exchanges do not accept reports. I mean, the major stock exchanges, what I know. There may be other countries, I'm not 100% sure, but the major countries where mineral industry contributes to the GDP a substantial amount, those stock exchanges do not accept any reports done as per UNFC scheme. But the rest is, in the UNFC code has no standard, there is no competent person system. However, it is the best for maintaining the natural resource inventory. That means a country, they have a lot of mineralized material. It is yet to be quantified. They can use this resource classification system, the UNFC system, to kind of maintain a record of that. For that purpose, UNFC system is a good one, but not for public reporting. CRIRSCO family of codes, you can see South Africa has some codes. India is the latest member. And I used to be an honorary member of CRIRSCO for about 6 years, 5 years actually, 2015 to 2019, bringing India as a member of CRIRSCO. That was my kind of my work with CRIRSCO. I'm no more a member of. I'm not a member of CRIRSCO. Do not represent any country right now. This system is for public reporting of exploration results, resource and reserve, right? This is an integrated system, not just a resource classification system like UNFC. They're accepted by all major stock exchanges, mainly by US, Canada, South Africa, Brazil, Colombia, in Europe, actually, and Hong Kong also there, but Hong Kong doesn't have a system. Hong Kong accepts any CRIRSCO family member, any code that is a CRIRSCO family code. So they would accept any report on that. But if you are in Australian region and you're trying to go into Hong Kong Stock Exchange, it's probably preferred to have, as have a report done as per the JORC guidelines, like, because it's from Australia. based on the principles of transparency, materiality, and competency. That's what these codes stand for, and we'll go into a little bit details about those things. Why CRIRSCO or CRIRSCO family of reporting codes? CRIRSCO style reporting is based on the principles of transparency, materiality, and competency. That means all the relevant information that is required for making an informed decision by the investors for the purpose of investment in any mining project or company. They have to be done that way, and that is the principle of all the reporting codes, including SAM codes. CRIRSCO was created to promote the international best practices in the reporting of exploration results, resource, and reserves. CRIRSCO does not produce, they do not author any code. What they author is a template that provides the framework for required minimum standard for public reporting of exploration results and resource reserve. Any one of you other than South Africa, if you're joining, and if you don't have a code for reporting exploration results and resource and reserves, then it's probably a choice that you have to think. If you are intending to raise funds in the public domain through stock exchanges, it's probably time to think about how to do that. And like I said, all major stock exchanges in the major mining countries, these are the type of reports that is accepted, and it has to be one of the CRIRSCO family of codes. And CRIRSCO template is where every country gets started. I recall how we got started in India, and every time there's a review, there's an update, we all refer to the reporting template. That's why the definitions come, and you can look into the SAM codes or George code or NI 43-101 or any other codes there. I'll give you a link also. You can go to CRIRSCO.com and find all the codes there which have been approved by CRIRSCO, the latest versions. You'll see that they all use the same definitions. This is the third time I'm mentioning the transparency, materiality, and competency. Transparency means the sufficient information is clearly presented, complete transparent way. Materiality means all relevant information is presented to the investor. That means we do not need to present information that is not relevant for the investors to make any informed decisions. And the competence really means, that implies the public report should be based on the work that is the responsibility of a qualified person or QP or a competent person. In different countries, the terminology is slightly different, but they mean the exactly same thing. Is based on the suitably qualified and experienced persons. That's why the CP thing comes. This person is responsible for reporting results, exploration results, resource and reserve, should have relevant experience in addition to minimum required qualifications. I'll have a table comparing all those qualifications. That's one of the reasons why highly favored by the financial institutions, whichever company is funding a project they required. In my own experience, having done and have reviewed, close to 100 reports or so, there have many times I find those reports are really not in public domain. Still, the financial institutions like it. That's why they require it. And basically, you make a report that's not going to be, for a company that's not listed, but the financial entities want it. Right now, I'm just finishing up an NI 43-101 report for a small exploration company. They're not listed, but the financiers want it that way. So it's highly favored by the financial institutions. And again, repeating myself again, but it's important to understand that these codes are meant for public participation in project funding. So if it is not, what that really means, if it is a project developed by a country, a government, they don't need to, and they're funding it themselves. They don't need to actually have their reporting done as per any of the standards. Why that matters? Because mining is an international business. That's why all the reporting has to be done in a way that people from one country can invest in another country too. It's a vital contributor to national and global economies. It's based on depleting assets, like we said before. It requires a clear communication of risk. That's one of the reasons why we need to have a standardized reports, and that's the beauty of this CRIRSCO family of codes. It depends on the trust and the confidence of the investors. That, you know, like we said, we discussed already why financial institutions like this type of reporting. So that's the importance of it. Here is a link to the template. I would say go to CRIRSCO.com, and on the left hand side in the menu there are all different links. I encourage you guys to, you know, go to different codes. You can download them, compare them, study them. Coming to slightly changing the topic here. Here's an example of how a mineral resource was actually reported as per NI 4311 guideline. Again, I'm borrowing it from late Dr. Harry Parker's slides. Like you can see here, the table really represents different types and different categories of resources. However, what is really important also, in addition to those numbers, are those 4 points down below the table. They are the qualifiers. You know, it's not all the nodes here. There's only partial nodes shown here. It says when, what is the effective date for these numbers? That means, you know, resource numbers can change with additional information coming in. So what is the effective date? That's important. And the name the qualified persons. You can see Dr. Harry Parker was the qualified person on this report. So it names it. That's why the, you know, competent persons take the responsibility of making sure that the numbers are valid. They can be, you know, they can be vetted, and, you know, it will stand the test. And what is the, you know, ownership position there? And you know, anything that an investor would like to know for the purpose of making a decision, an informed decision for investment purposes, that has to be disclosed. I'm not going to go too much detail about the definition. However, just to know that resources are three different types of resources. On the left-hand side of that diagram, that's the figure 1. Any reporting code that you take, that's the figure 1, including SAM codes. The resources are going from inferred measure, there's increasing level of knowledge or confidence. However, there's an exploration results also we can report. To go from exploration result to resources, one has to go through the criteria for reasonable prospect for eventual economic extraction. I just put like RP, EEE is there. That kind of works like a filter. If you have exploration results and you want to go to resources, make sure that the material that we have in the ground, those are mineralized material, part of that meets the requirements of the RP-EEE, reasonable prospect for eventual economic extraction. That means sometimes in the future it can be mined in a reasonable way with reasonable assumptions. Those are candidates for becoming resources. To make the resource into reserve, what we have is a modifying factors. They are two different things, the RPEEE and modifying factors, but they're related but not the same. RPEEE, these are reasonableness of the assumptions of for the future. We're making assumptions of whether the price is going to be right, if the cost is going to be reasonable. But when it comes to modifying factor, that converting the resource into reserve, that really goes from the left to right of that diagram. That really now the assumptions that were used in the resource, they are proven or they are the real numbers. There is no question about where you got the numbers from. There's proof of everything is needed. The cost, pricing, and engineering. What I say proof means this, you have to cite the source, tell the investor actually, and make a note about where do you get the information. That's the responsibility of this competent person to ensure that transparently all the relevant information is released. So what a CP does, it prepares the competent person reports. These are public reports, and they're all different types of reports. It provides information that is right and correct information to the investors. It exercises, the CP exercises judgment in providing external information. If we are, for an example, if I'm citing a price for a mineralized material that have multiple commodities, but we don't have the most recent pricing. So I need to tell the investors in the report, through the report, where I'm sourcing those price information. It has to be properly done, and I'm making a judgment. Actually, what is my right source of external information, and are they reasonable for the investors to make a decision. It upholds the principles of the transparency, materiality, and competence. You can see this is the fourth or fifth time I'm mentioning in this webinar, because these are three pillars for public reporting. It enables the balance and reasonable and reasoned investment decisions. And so an investor really looks at the report that are authored by the competent persons. You understand that is so much important and such an important task for the CPs to ensure that the right kind of information is provided for the investors to make decisions. It's the responsibility of the person. It's not that their employer or the company. I promise that I'll show you a comparison of the competent person requirements. You can see that SAMREC requires 5 years of experience in the industry. In addition, there are 5 years of relevant experiences. I'm not sure if they have updated these numbers now. Do they need any areas of expertise? No, they don't require that, and they call it a summary called competent persons. And you can see that all these 14 countries listed here, there are some countries they require 10 years of industry experience, and almost all of them except Turkey, they require relevant for 7 years of relevant experiences. All the other countries require 5 years of relevant experience. Brazil and United States, they require the positions of responsibility. What really that means, a competent person should be able to make a judgment. That means the person has or had the experience of leading a group of people, giving directions. They may not be their direct reports. It can be a consultant working with the project, with multiple people involved in the reporting project. That can be the case, but they had the some years of responsibility, so that that gives a confidence to the investors that this person can make judgments, and they are reasonable people. So you can see that all different countries have different requirements and for becoming a CP. The last column in this, you can see there are also different names in different countries. Canada said, well, we're going to call them qualified persons, not competent persons. Most of the countries, they call them competent persons. India said, well, we're going to call them registered competent persons. In United States, we call competent persons. However, if you're going through different organizations like myself, I'm a registered member of SME. It's not a competent person of SME. I'm a registered member status of SME. And Brazil, they call registered qualified professionals. So different countries, have different names for the competent persons, but their responsibilities are the same. They do the similar type of work in different countries. This is coming from CRIRSCO. The main reason actually here showing this slide is just to highlight these top three points in this box. The competent person has to be industry professional. That means a car mechanic cannot be a competent person in reporting exploration results or resource reserve. They have to be an industry professional, has to be a member of an RPO, that is recognized professional organization. In the entire Africa, South African IMM is one of the RPOs, and there are certain standards and certain levels of membership that you have to contact South African IMM to inquire about it, they have to have 5 years of relevant experience. I'll highlight what relevant experience really means. That is a suggestion coming from CRIRSCO. That means the template says this is the minimum what we need. Any country goes beyond that, that's okay, but you cannot go below it. You cannot require, you cannot have a competent person with less than 5 years of relevant experience. This is a guideline coming from CRIRSCO. Then any country take this guideline, they make their own system. Like in India, when we did it, we said, no, we need 7 years of experience. That's what we did. The country's industry professionals really wanted to do, and they agreed to do. And I guess the last point in this slide is, basically who is a competent person and how we know that he's competent. The test of competency probably is that their work can stand their peers, and it can demonstrate the competency in the reported information in the report. All the data and the information and data that is actually included in the report, they can stand it. They can stand the test. So any person who wants to be a competent person and authoring a report has to ask this question: if this report goes to auditing, or like in review process, like what I do on a regular basis, can I answer all the questions of this auditor reasonably, so that there's no changes made to the report as a result of the audits? Some questions like that. Can I stand can my work really stand the test by the peers? What relevant experience really means, they should have a training and experience in the this is an example. Let's say a CP signing up on the exploration results should have training and experience in the exploration. Similarly, CP signing up the mine planning and reserve estimation is expected to have education, training, and experience in those areas. A geologist, the last point, with significant experience in core control may not have sufficient exploration in the exploration and the resource estimation. So he or she cannot be a CP to report the exploration results. He is a geologist, but all he has done in his career is core control. So he doesn't have the relevant experience required for reporting exploration results. That was the examples to explain what relevant experience really means. In my case, if you look at my business card, you will see that, okay, I disclose my employer, and I maintain the professional society memberships. Also, these are the areas of experience, areas where I practice. I have more than 5 years of experience in different areas, and the type of projects I have done. So I have to really disclose all the information, so that anyone trying to get work done through me can understand what I'm doing. In larger companies, what I call a computer person system is actually, if you look at the geology and mining engineers, when they become computer person, they depend on multiple disciplines, all different disciplines that goes into deciding a resource and reserve. It's always a multidisciplinary system. I'll just skip this slide. Basically, this is my last slide. Actually, the multidisciplinary system really means that when the geologist or the mining engineer actually reporting resource and reserve, they have to depend on experts and professionals from various disciplines. What I really wanted to show here, it looks like I didn't include that slide, is in the large companies, they always have a CP system where the group of people, their name shows up in their company reports. However, there are multiple people, is a team of other people who are professionals in the company. They may be employers or maybe from outside. They help in and contribute to the reporting of exploration results and resource and reserve. I think that's all I have. I will open up the floor for questions. Thank you all. If you want to have a question, please raise your hands and or you can start actually talking. Unmute yourself and introduce yourself and ask a question. Dr. Garba. Dr. Garba, please, please unmute yourself.
Thank you very much for this presentation. Though I joined a bit late, but then I'm very conversant with some of the aspects of what you have presented. I just want to ask of your opinion with your understanding of the Nigerian setting and the difficulties and challenges we have in adopting a reporting standard.
Mm-hmm.
What will be your advice in this respect when you situate the need for a proper sanctioning body to be in for a reporting standard to function for a country? And this upcoming AMREC, how do we situate all these reporting standard? To me, I'm of the opinion that perhaps as a country, we adopt one of these standard reporting standards or codes first, before we go on to start thinking of our own reporting patterns. What will be your opinion? What will be your advice in this respect? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Garba, for the question. So I have actually, for the audience, Dr. Garba is the Director General of Nigerian Geological Survey. That's a federal government agency. She's the head of the Geological Survey of Nigeria. And having been actually worked on the Nigerian properties or Nigerian projects for the last 5 years, here's my opinion. I think your last comment on whether whether Nigerian mineral industry should adopt a CRIRSCO style code. Yes, that is correct. And that was part of the NIME project. We adopted a JORC style code, to report the exploration results. But also during the process, what we found out, there are problems. Problems in the sense, when we try to adopt another code that may not be suitable for the Nigerian economy, it's not about a deposit, it's not about one commodity, it's about the whole country. Based on those experiences, my advice to the Nigeria for the country is to I think you were there in the right path. They would already have some experiences in using and adapting JARC code or other codes. Given that experience, you have all the ingredients in the country. You have an active stock exchange. You have the government, very forward-looking government with the mining ministry, and professional like yourself and the other exploration agencies there. And you have a body actually that's working with the industry. They're kind of licensing the professionals. I think you have all the ingredients to go ahead and start working towards making your own code. That will go a long way. And just a couple of just two small comments on there. Making your own code, that is a CRIRSCO family codes, would allow you to raise funds to develop any project. Now, that is not the purpose of the Africa focus. I think what you said, America or something from UNFC. That's not the focus. I had other conversation with that body. That thinking about competent person and stuff. I don't understand exactly what they're doing, but they're existing for a long time. For that purpose, for raising funds, you should have your own code. However, if there is an Africa focused code coming from UNFC, or you are just using the latest UNFC code, then that is really very relevant for geological survey and other agencies under the government to maintain the mineral inventory. That is good for that. What it doesn't have, like I presented, is the system that would allow the competent person system to be there in the country, and that would tell the outside investors, hey, the country has a system where the reported numbers or reported information is reliable. That is not the part of the UNFC's or the Africa focused. I think the classification system that is I'm hearing for the last few years coming. That's not the focus. But my advice, sincere advice, is Nigeria has to have their own code, and like India has, Chile has, any other countries have. Dr. Garba, you still have your hands raised. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that piece of advice. I think I share the same idea with you, but I have some worries. The worries I have is this: the essence of having a reporting code is to streamline the reporting standards for a country. But then, if as a country we have our own reporting code, the question or the big question is this: will it be acceptable internationally? Can it be acceptable at international stock exchanges? If it cannot, then what is the essence? Over a period of time, let me finish.
Sorry to interject there. I think that is the whole purpose of having the code. That's the whole purpose. So when, let's say, I was deeply involved in bringing India as a member. So if the government is actually taking some time, but they were still working there. Brazil joined in 2015. Now the government already adopted it. What that means, if I'm a competent person and my competent person status is accepted in Brazil, I'm keeping Brazil as an example, Dr. Garba. Now their code, if you look at, that is accepted by all 14 countries except Canada, I believe. Most of the major countries have accepted Brazil. Given why Toronto Stock Exchange is so important there, because everyone accepts NI 43-101. So if you have your own code and accepted by CRIRSCO members, then one of the major advantages is international acceptance. That is why actually I'm suggesting this. It's international acceptance. Yes. Thanks for that. That's a very important question. Thank you.
Dr. I agree with you completely. As we are still saying the same thing. What I'm saying is the worry about the essence of it, especially for Nigeria at this point in time. Let me give you an example. In South Africa, you have SAMREC, SAMVAL, and all sort of reporting standards. They came about this after using some standards for a period of time. And it was internationally acceptable that the people working there in South Africa has been imbibed the culture of writing and reporting along those standards before adopting their own. If you look at the NIME project, when we designed it, we ensured that we have what we call embed staff to work with some of you, the CPs that are working there. The essence of it is to bring up a crop of people that have a very good understanding of these standards, so that over a period of time, once they understand this, then they can now move on. We can start thinking of our own reporting codes. Take, for example, now, COMEG. COMEG is supposed to be the sanctioning body. COMEG is now is handling that issue effectively. So over a period of time, when we use what we have currently, we can now adopt that system. That is just simply what I'm trying to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ba. We can actually, if you like, actually, I could give you a little more time. Also, we can discuss this topic. This is a very relevant topic for Nigeria, for sure, for sure. Tanya, you have raised your hand. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Thank you very much. My name is Tanya Marshall. I am the immediate past president or past chair of the SAM Code Standards Committee.
Yes, Tanya.
And I just wanted to add my bit to your comment to Dr. Gaza, that very definitely, Dr. Gaza, you don't want to go the UNFC AMREG route, because you will not be able to use that in order to sign off on a competent person's report for any international stock exchange. And secondly, as Dr. Samal was saying, the idea of creating your own code, but not just any code, your code would be based on the CRIRSCO template. So it would be
fantastic, yeah.
CRIRSCO compliant, based on the CRIRSCO code, similar to all the other CRIRSCO codes, but it would have various aspects which might be Nigeria specific. For example, with the SAMREG codes, it was based on the CRIRSCO template, but there are certain things in there that are specific to South Africa and the listing regulations on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. And so likewise, the reporting code that you might develop for Nigeria would be based on CRIRSCO. It would be acceptable to the CRIRSCO committee, but it would have very specific things which mean something to Nigeria and which wouldn't be applicable elsewhere. Thank you, Dr.
Tanya. Just to complement what Tanya said, Dr. Garba, is, like I said, for last decade, actually, just including India, we all know that we review, all different codes. Any code, assuming that Nigeria develops its own code, the definition of mineral, let's say, for example, and what is a resource, that definition has to be the CRIRSCO definition. However, if there is something that is totally different to Nigeria, that they have some flexibility, you can actually describe it. Okay, in Nigeria, this is what we mean. In India, actually, what was unique there is they have chromite, bauxite, and diamond and gemstones. So their codes are rich in those things. I remember we borrowed the South African terminology and languages there to enrich, the text of that code in India. And you look at Colombia, actually, what they have, their economy is different. The way the investors think is different. So there's commonality amongst all the CRIRSCO family codes, comes from the very high level. When we go into detail, they are very country specific. That's the beauty of this course. Thank you, Tanya, for that comment. Any other questions? We have only a couple of minutes. I can take up 2 questions or so. Robert, can you speak? Robert, I don't know if you can speak. The question I got from a chat box is just out of interest. I understand that the reserves are determined from the measured and indicated resources, but when reporting reserves and resources, there's tonnage and grade figures and the resource inclusive of the competence that was converted into reserve. Okay, that's a very good question. No, resource and reserves are reported separately, and in addition to that, the in addition to that, when you go to resource, remember only measured and indicated, like you wrote there. They can only be reported, and they can be converted into reserve. Inferred category resource has to be reported separately. That's a good question. So then when I do the reporting, I make sure that as for NI 43-101 or JORC, these are reported separately, so that investor looks at it. Okay, here are the resources of these categories. Here are the reserve of their category. So they should not be mixed. Any other question? If you don't have any question, I think we're right at time. Gugu, is it okay to close this presentation from South African IMM?
Yes, thank you very much. We can close the presentation.
Thank you all really being here. We had close to 19-20 participants from different parts, and also thanks Tanya, thanks Dr. Garba, having the really questions that definitely helped us to have a good discussion. This is such a topic that I can discuss for days. Any of the attendees, if you have any question in this topic, like resource estimation, reporting, and the codes, please reach out to me. I have already shared my contacts with you, and if not, please reach out to South African IMM. They will be happy to provide my contacts. We can always have a lively discussion. Thank you all. I really appreciate you being here. I really loved it. Thank you. Have a very good day there, and good evening wherever you are from. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.